He grows restless under my guidance. I have found a new Dragonborn to serve me.
From the blizzard-plagued peaks of Solstheim's skull-settled mountains,
to the bustling town of Dunmer inhabitants, colonized by the remnants of House Redoran.
To the Ashland coastal shores, which lie home to a turbulent Telvanni wizard.
or the vast, endless halls of Apocrypha, governed by Hermaeus Mora's timeless pursuit of knowledge. The Dragonborn DLC to this day is still one of the most profound content releases to exist for Skyrim, taking you to a dense new island bordering both Skyrim and Morrowind. Solstheim, which before was only experienced in Morrowind's Blood Moon expansion, was now recrafted and given a new purpose, to serve as the player character's final adventure that would forever conclude the story of the last Dragonborn.
But over the years, just like every other aspect of Skyrim and the Elder Scrolls games that came before it, modders have tirelessly dedicated their time to building upon the world that Bethesda had laid for us, and provided us with hundreds of new mods which aim to expand upon every aspect of this expansive DLC in a way which breathes new life into the fabled island of Solstheim.
Since I posted the Dawnguard video in April of 2021, I knew right away that what had to come next is something even bigger and better than even that video. And so since then, I've spent the past few months putting together the most cinematic Skyrim mods video I've ever attempted, in order to bring you a one-stop shop to everything Dragonborn modding, in a way that will revolutionise this historic DLC.
Whether it's a plethora of overhauls to provide a fresh new feeling to the many locations in the game.
Or a variety of amazing new creature mods designed to bring a higher stake to exploring Solstheim's world.
Or mods that affect the very story itself and how you interact and complete the Dragonborn questline.
Prepare to embark on a journey that is 10 years of Skyrim modding in the making.
In this video, we will follow the stories of a series of iconic characters as they lead us through each of the aspects of this DLC expansion, in order to not only provide you with a huge list of mods which you can then play with yourself, but offer you one of the coolest and hopefully entertaining videos that I've ever set out to release on this channel. So sit back and relax as we finally delve into the long-awaited Dragonborn Overhaul.
I choose this as our goal.
Creatures of none.
All men are kings. If he breeds, he is sick.
Not because they are easy, but because they are hard.
You're Samson and Broom, all right? Won't hurt.
We'll begin this video on the ash-covered coastal shores of Solstheim, a place which is haunted by the echoes of the risen dead. A place where only those who know how to survive can prosper, and those that have survived have done so together. At the heart of that is a settlement plagued with the spirits of their very ancestors, whose reanimated corpses cause chaos upon its inhabitants. And so that's where we're going to begin our transformation. In a small town named Raven Rock.
To start off, we'll begin with transforming the very look itself, with the simply put Raven Rock HD, which aims to retexture the entirety of Raven Rock's tileset and mostly serves to lay up a foundation to build upon with our next mod. Quaint Raven Rock is an architectural expansion to both the size and scope of the settlement, expanding the town with features such as an expanded and enhanced shipping port, more realistic improved farmlands, post-Red Mountain eruption debris, and amplified Dark Elf culture. And while we're on the topic of the uniquities of Dunmer construction, we'll also use a furniture overhaul mod by the name of Solstheim Object Smimmed. What this mod does is directly improve the meshes on a variety of wooden Dark Elf furniture set to give them a more polished and high quality look. Now for armour, and for this segment we have 3 different sets to choose from. First is the Redoran Exile armour. Second is the Indoril Ordinator. And lastly is the Netch leather armour. The next mod we're going to add is one which adds a touch of immersion to your game regarding ash storms and Solstheim's climate. What this mod aims to do is apply ash shaders to many of the items and surfaces found around the Raven Rock area, for an extra touch of realism to the town. Finally is Populated Solsthiem, a mod which adds a bunch of new NPCs to the island's most bustling hotspot, Raven Rock. First is a variety of workers. Secondly is a few new inhabitants. And lastly, some Morrowind refugees. Worker NPCs can be found performing various jobs and tasks around the settlement, while refugees will often wander around the town speaking to residents, and inhabitants will act as NPCs that live and interact around Raven Rock, often being seen hanging around the local inn, and generally just living out their lives. Raven Rock is a massively integral part to the Dragonborn experience, so it was really important to find some mods that make it a more interesting and dynamic place, whether it's the bustling market filled with vendors and customers alike, or various new workers to make the farms, shops and mines of the settlement feel more believable. Raven Rock is now truly a more heightened area, which reflects it being the largest and most advanced settlement on the island. And even with all of these mods, Raven Rock is still only half of the Ashland coastal section in this video. So without further ado, let's move on to the other part of the Ashland coast. Tel Mithryn, home of the Telvanni wizard Master Neloth, and what stands to be the second half of our Ashland coast transformation. We'll begin this section by taking a look at a mod designed to overhaul the Telvanni towers themselves, and Better Tel Mithryn aims to do just that, while not only briefly redecorating the main chamber itself, but its main purpose is to provide a more realistic and expanded settlement to the surrounding area, such as a few guards posted around the entrance, along with some improvements to the grounds itself, like some actual farmland for food, a shipping port for access and supplies, and some improvements to some of the existing crafters and tradesmen. Next is Riekling Solsthiem, a mod which covers more than just Tel Mithryn itself, but is a great retexture to provide the entire Ashland coast with some 4K and fitting redesigns which help to enhance the surrounding areas and its assets in a way which really helps to tie many of the visuals together in a believable way. Next, we're going to enhance Solstheim's weather systems with both supreme ash storms and Solstheim earthquakes for an extreme and treacherous weather combination, and this is going to lead us on to the Dust Adept armor mod to help us traverse the new extreme ashland filled with a variety of new creatures. First is the Guar, a large bipedal reptilian creature which can either be encountered as an enemy or tamed as a mount. Next is the Cliff Racers, a flying pterodactyl type creature native to Morrowind and can be found circling the island's coast. Back on land we have Shalks, buggy insectoid creatures resembling that of large beetles, and can be encountered throughout the ashland. And lastly is the Bantam Guar, small domestic chicken-esque reptilians who are often tamed for farming and household pets. And for the time being, that's going to cover both of the main regions of the Ashland coast, to really build upon what was already there, in a way which brings a new level of diversity and danger to this seemingly treacherous land.
And yet, the furthest side of the island tells a different story. The snow-painted mountains lies home to an ancient settlement of shamans, hunters, and gatherers alike. The Skaal, a collective of people that follow the earthly ways of the All-Maker. And while their lives and culture is tied to respecting and preserving the nature around them. There are those who have grown estranged to the traditions that have protected these lands for a multitude of generations. And that starts here with our friendly adventurer, Frida Skaal.
And today, Frida is going to lead us through a series of mods which are all aimed to enhance the Skaal Mountains, by not only briefly improving the visuals, but adding more content and creatures to the region. So let's begin with the former, by improving the look of many of the icy caves and glaciers scattered amongst the area. And that's going to start with CC's Caves 4K, followed by mods such as Just Ice 4K, and finally Stalhrim Source, in order to give a base fresh improvement to most of the mountainous areas in the expansion. But those only stand to be the beginning of our changes. Introducing the Skaal Village Overhaul by Eleonora, a mod which is designed to completely rebuild the various homes and decor that make up this spiritual homestead in a lore-friendly but fresh way. Each of the houses have now been remade using stone assets instead of the classic wooden huts we see all across Skyrim, and this really adds to the feel of the Skaal village actually being a secluded settlement in the mountains of Solstheim, independent from the rest of the northern Skyrim, and even the island itself. One thing that's great about this mod in particular is that each one of the interiors are somewhat reflective of the person or people that live there, and that's most representative in the quaint shaman's hut at the back of the village, which matches Storm Cragstrider's minimalistic and unpretentious lifestyle. But while overhauling the Skaal village itself is great, there are some additions and changes we can make to the creatures that call the region their home, and that's going to start with a return of an old friend, the GRAHL, a dangerous tusk troll variant unique to Solstheim's climate, which acts as a new addition to stumble upon your adventures. But next is a skeletal replacer for all the Riekling variants. First is the Riekling Roughriders, next the Riekling Reavers, and lastly the Bristleback Boars themselves, all given a larger, more intimidating stature. And the last new creature in the Skaal Mountains is the Blood Horker, a large predatory Horker variant native to Solstheim, to provide a real sense of uniquity to the island. But when you're tired of exploring the snowy peaks or hunting dangerous foes, then you might want to return to a small player home that goes by the name Skaal You Need. A quaint, purchasable shack just on the outskirts of the village that comes with everything you would require to base your adventures from within, such as a small alchemical and enchanting station with ample storage for ingredients, a shrine just above your bed devoted to the All-Maker, or just some storage for weapons, armour, and any other items you may discover. Skaal You Need acts as a great all-in-one abode, and also the final mod in our Skaal Mountains segment. And yet, it's not the last of our areas to overhaul. Apocrypha, the Daedric realm of Hermaeus Mora, a place so hungry for knowledge that its entrance lays buried beneath the ink. And today, we're going to add a whole bunch of Apocrypha themed mods, and as per usual, that begins with improving the visuals with our set of texture mods. CleverCharff's Apocrypha is a huge all-in-one texture pack which enhances the visuals of pretty much the entire realm, and paired with detail in the Eldritch to cover extra details like black buffs, we now have an improved base to work with. Next for some more specifics, starting with the HD Serpentine and Mesh Fits. And we also have a similar mod aimed to improve Hermaeus Mora. But while the visuals are great, we can also add in a brand new player house named KXK Apocrypha Home. Obtainable after defeating Mirak, this mod comes with everything you would ever need in a Daedric player home. From magical suspended displays for all of your greatest weapons, or a forging chamber to craft them within. This really is an interesting and unique mod that will serve as a great home base while searching for our next item. Ilia, the Sword of the Damned, is a new item which can be crafted using an extremely rare drop found on select Seeker corpses, and bears its own magical properties, which really makes it stand out while facing enemies. And on the subject of enemies, we now have some improvements to the skeletons of looming lurkers, and fittingly we also have a similar change for Seekers in order to make them more menacing. But that's not it. The final mod is Magic of Apocrypha, a mod which adds 2 new spells which can be dropped by Seekers, each of them channeling the power of the Eldritch, in order to cast varying draining abilities on your foes. And with those, you now have a little more agency to Apocrypha. Now we've got a whole bunch of mods that have expanded upon each of the 3 main regions included in the Dragonborn DLC. It's time to visit those additional mods which cover a broader basis, and add everything from new locations, quests, creatures, and even new abilities and transformations. So this section is basically going to cover all of the mods that didn't directly fit into a specific category, and maybe some that I discovered after making those parts of the video. But without further ado, let's dive into the Dragonborn Additions. The first area we're going to begin this section by taking a look at is all of the NPCs you'll encounter across the Dragonborn expansion, and overhauling the way they look in not only an up-to-date style, but one that makes them more unique and reflects their characters more vividly. Pandorable's Dragonborn is a mod which covers almost every single one of the main and side characters you'll meet across the DLC, and redesigns their facial features and overall looks, in order to make them more memorable and expressive, in a way which enhances each of their stories. This mod covers pretty much every single one of the main NPCs that belong to the various houses home to Ravenrock, all of the unique NPCs with either quests attached or extensive dialogue, and one of the coolest things about this mod in my opinion is that it covers many of the miscellaneous NPCs that have quest lines outside of the major settlements. And keeping in tradition to this mod, we can also use Pandorable's Freya for a consistent but great looking replacer to keep in line with all the other NPCs that have been altered within the expansion. And on the topic of upgrading the looks of the Dragonborn content, we also have Dragonborn Ingredients, a mod which targets 3 of the main new ingredients provided by the DLC and replaces them with great up-to-date models and textures, and overall just ties up some consistency issues if you're using other ingredient mods. Next we have Elsopa's texture replacer for Netches and Striders, followed by Cannibal Draugr on Solstheim to replace the undead in Nordic tombs, the Frost King Reborn for some visual improvements to the Karstag model, and finally the Azidar replacer for another unique set of armour to obtain. Next up, we've got a brand new addition to one of the miscellaneous locations on the Ashland coast, the Old Atius Farm. And what this mod does is restore the old farmstead to somewhat of its former glory, matching the Imperial architecture familiar to Morrowind. Inside, you'll find a uniquely structured home, which comes with all the basic requirements if you choose to live there. And what I find specifically alluring about this mod is that you'll pretty much not find anything else like this anywhere on Solstheim or Skyrim, and provides a great throwback to the Elder Scrolls 3. And yet, we're still not completely done with this video, because we still have 3 new location mods to bring some more exploration and content to Solstheim. And that begins with our first mod, which is nested deep within the Ashland Dunes. Underhanded Slavery is a mod which adds a new fully voiced location and quest to the island, where a secret House Dress faction is reforming, who aim to rekindle the old traditions of beast race trafficking on Solstheim. The mod is a great, small quest to partake upon, with some really brilliant voice acting and different endings for role-playing purposes. But it's not the last of the new locations which we've added to the island, and most of that is purely down to our next mod. Solstheim The Lost Levels is a dungeon expansion mod which re-adds several of the missing caves and ruins since the Blood Moon expansion, providing you with a variety of new small to large locations which act to help solve some of the inconsistencies that are present between each of the games. From crystal-filled caves to venture and explore, to necromantic hideouts hiding dark secrets within, or Riekling outposts guarding deep underwater caverns. Lost Levels is a great addition, but still not our last. Blood Moon Call of Solstheim Werebeasts is a mod which aims to do a similar thing in terms of expanding upon Blood Moon content, by introducing a variety of new, interesting locations that all tie into a short questline centered around the werebeasts of Solstheim, because the main goal of this mod, and the reason it's in this video, is not the new locations, or even some of the new item variants, is that the player can finally take on the werebear form, and with that is the last mod in our Dragonborn Overhaul.
If it's been a struggle to make this island livable, we're proud to call it home.
Your eyes once were blinded. Now, do you see?
Hermaeus Mora learned some fascinating new ways to skin a Horker, and you become the second most powerful Dragonborn that ever lived.
Like him. You are a dragon. All those people, the secrets of the world are mine.
Superstitious folk say they're the risen forms of those that died long ago. Time not so certain.
Focus is essential, or else the barrier may fall.
And that, ladies and gents, is our Dragonborn Overhaul. But before you bounce, I have a few announcements and reminders to get through, and something I think you guys will really like at the end of this video. But first, if you didn't know already, I've recently partnered with Apex Gaming PCs to bring out my own line of custom gaming rigs fit to the same specifications I'm running. They've been really great to work with and super understanding, considering some of these videos can take like a month to make. So if you're in the market for a new PC and would like to support the channel, then check out my page in the description and use code BURNS for 5% off site-wide. And I also want to give a massive shout out to both Luigio Da Vinci and Scampus for winning both the screenshot competition and the COTR preset competition, of which you've been seeing Shawnee the Ashlander throughout this video. And the final thing on the note of presets is that I'm going to try and start providing some better benefits for those of you that have been so kind to support the channel on Patreon in the form of Heavy Burns character packs. The first being Fat Thor, Samson of Bruma and Bingo, which will launch with this video, and I'll release similar packs periodically over the coming months. So if you'd like to support the channel, then all of the links will be in the description down below. And so on that note, I want to thank you all again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Also shout out to Maurice